Hello and welcome to this video where we will be hacking a Google Cloud instance. Now the actual lab for this video that we're going to complete is called Compute Engine Intrusion. So let's get right into it. Now, I did just complete this lab, however, I wanted to redo it in order to showcase not the SSRF in particular, but there's a cool nuance to how you could control the resources or enumerate the resources that I want to showcase. So if we download this, download your credentials, it leads us to a website, as I'll show you. So it leads us to this website. However, when I was using it, it seemed to be down. But the page that had the SSRF seemed to be working. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so here we have established the SSRF to be in the experience field. Now, it wasn't very difficult. We pretty much just used just a typical trial and error. Like, for example, just checking which ones have command execution. So we check this one, it doesn't have it. We check this one, it doesn't have it. And then if we check this one, we have command execution. So it's not very complicated SSRF, no encoding required or escaping or anything like that. But it's not really the focal point of the lab, in my opinion. I'll show you the kind of valuable demonstration here in a second. So let's go ahead and get the SSRF underway. Now, if I try to access the metadata through a curl command, it does work. As you can see, we can access the metadata successfully. Now, let's go to the instance, because one crucial thing that we need to do before extracting the token is to actually know what the project is and what the name of our service account is. Amazing. So by going to service accounts, we know now that our service account is a default compute engine service account. And lastly, besides knowing what the service account's name is, we also know that this is the project as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go to default. And get the token. Actually, before we get the token, let's take a look at the scopes. Although I'm going to show you a different way to get the scopes. The scopes is very important to know what we can access through this. Okay, looks like we can't actually get the scope. Oh no, I think it's because I put a slash. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, the scope involves dev storage read-only. Now, this is crucial information because when we're working with the APIs or we're working with a token, we're not going to be able to use our standard tooling for enumeration and scanning. You're not going to be able to use CloudFox and get a complete scan over all resources that you can find, because unfortunately, these new tools that we're currently dealing with, they don't all provide us with options to use a token file or just a token with API calls. Some of them rely on the SDK, some of them don't. And so it's unreliable to rely on these tools all the time. So we get the scopes from here. Now we have an idea that this SA can possibly access storage accounts. Can possibly access buckets from the storage account. And with that being said, I'm going to show you how to do so. So if we go back to default, now let's go ahead and grab the token. Access token. Amazing. Whoops. And we're going to rename the token to this. Great. Now, if you didn't want to use gcloud, then what could we use that is much more evasive in that it doesn't even require the SDK? Well, we actually have the option of using just basic API calls. So let's demonstrate gcloud first, and then we'll do basic API calls. Access token file. Access token file. Now, using this access token file is pretty much like conducting a command with impersonation. So as you can see, the scope did not lie. It is scoped to have access over this, overseeing buckets from the storage account. However, the scope itself is not role-based access control. The scope itself simply says, what is the scope? Like, what is this able to see or do if it were able to see or do anything? And the scope in this case is the storage buckets. From a previous lab, we had a service account JSON file that we connected to in order to run Scout Suite and in order to run some other scanning tools. So from there, let's go ahead and see the actual role-based access control at play. So if we go over to the IAM section of Scout Suite, and we go to bindings, well, I believe I'm already here. There we are. Okay, so we have artifact, registry, create, on push, writer. Let's see what else we have. Cloud build builds builder. And here, as you can see, storage.objectAdmin grants full control over objects, including listing, creating, viewing, and deleting objects. So this is the actual permission list, a set of permissions involved, and not the scope. The scope just tells you where you're able to use your permissions, if you have any. So with that clarification being provided, we go back to here, we can confirm that we can see anything we want from here. So let's go ahead and check out this service trigger function bucket. See if we can list the objects of it. And as you can see here, we just listed the fact that this function service bucket, this SecOps internal service trigger function bucket, has the source code of a function as a zip file inside. So let's go ahead and retrieve that. So this would be how you do it on AWS. Oh, sorry, I needed to include the access token. And I need to specify the file. Amazing, downloaded. So let's go ahead and unzip it and confirm that we can access the source code of the function now. Now, I'm not sure if this was intended in the lab itself. Perhaps this is a part of a completely different lab, but it is what I found to be the most significant part of the lab. Let's go ahead and cap this just to make sure. Yeah, it's a source code of a basic function. And now let's go ahead and demonstrate doing what we just did in basic API calls. Now, why would you want to use native API calls instead of gcloud? Well, firstly, you might be running covertly on some kind of host or through a proxy internally from some kind of function that does not have the SDK installed. And there are a bunch of other reasons as to why you could want to run native API calls. But overall, it's much more evasive. You can proxy it. You can freely encrypt it. You can do a whole lot of stuff to API calls that you cannot do to the gcloud, the gcloud tool that people are using to access Google Cloud resources. So let's go ahead and use native API calls. Now, the first thing that we're going to want to do is list the buckets. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll explain this this command. Basically, we're specifying the token to be from this token file. So we're going to cat our token file. And then with the token saved as token, we're going to use curl, specifying the header with the token in the header, and then curling to the storage Google API, and then specifying the project as a parameter in that curl. And by doing this, we should be able to list all of the buckets as we did with gcloud, as you can see here. Prettifying it with JQ. So in order to list the contents, actually in order to list all the contents of all the buckets, we can even do that through through an API call, or a loop rather. Now, I made this loop with the help of GPT, and basically what it does is it's going to loop through every single found bucket from the previous API call that we just did, and then list the contents of each bucket. So it's extraordinary how this works, almost like as good as the gcloud SDK. As you can see, we listed every single file from every single bucket that we have access to on the storage account. Now, that's kind of the extent of this lab. The actual flag of the lab was just the service account name, which I already inserted here, as you know from watching the video. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you would like to see about GCP, Google Cloud, or any other Google service provider. Or if you're more interested in hybrid or on-premise content. Yeah, with that being said, thank you very much and see you later.